For 50 years, Carly Simon's iconic hit You're So Vain has remained one of pop culture's greatest mysteries. Fans, music critics, and celebrity gossip lovers alike have spent decades speculating about the identity of the elusive figure behind the song's sharp, unforgettable lyrics. Was it a famous musician? A romantic partner? Someone from the glitzy Hollywood scene? The guesses were endless, each more sensational than the last. And yet Carly herself remained tight-lipped, offering only cryptic hints and playful teasing in interviews that only fueled the curiosity. Now, after half a century of whispers, rumors, and wild speculation, Carly Simon has finally broken her silence. In a candid revelation, the legendary singer confirmed the identity of the person who inspired You're So Vain. The confession has sent shockwaves through the music world and social media alike, finally ending one of the longest-running debates in pop history. Fans who have been obsessing over this question since the 1970s can finally breathe a sigh of relief, while new generations are discovering the story behind the song that continues to define Carly Simon's career. But the revelation is more than just the answer to a long-standing question. It's a reminder of how powerful music can be, how a song can capture emotions so vividly that it sparks curiosity for decades. You're So Vain isn't just a catchy tune. It's a timeless expression of heartbreak, wit, and personal reflection, and Carly Simon's confession now adds a whole new layer to its legacy. After 50 years, the truth is finally out, and the world can see the story behind one of the most enigmatic, talked about songs of all time. The mystery is solved, but the legend, as ever, lives on for decades. Carly Simon's You're So Vain has held the world in a playful, tantalizing grip. The song, with its sharp lyrics, unforgettable melody, and biting chorus, became an instant classic when it was released in 1972. Yet, while millions sang along to its infectious tune, few could ignore the burning question beneath the rhythm. Who was she singing about? That question became a cultural obsession, a riddle whispered in cafes, offices, and music studios for generations. From rock stars to Hollywood actors, nearly every famous face of the era became a suspect. And Carly, ever elusive, only added fuel to the fire, dropping cryptic hints that left fans guessing for decades. In interviews, she would smile slyly, letting curiosity linger in the air like a carefully placed note in a melody. One of them is, she'd say, pointing to a vague list of possible subjects, never confirming more than that. Sometimes she'd joke, other times she'd feign frustration at the relentless questioning. Every word she spoke was dissected, analyzed, and speculated upon. Over the years, the guessing game became part of the song's legend, as much a part of its identity as its iconic piano riff or its unforgettable opening line. Fans and journalists tried everything. They compiled lists of romantic partners and collaborators, scoured public records, and even compared handwriting and vocal styles. Every interview, every offhand comment, became evidence in the never-ending search for the truth. Radio shows held special segments dedicated to speculation. Late-night hosts teased her about it. And social media, long after the song's release, turned her mystery into a meme that spanned generations. But Carly remained calm, holding the secret close, letting the song live on in that perfect balance of intimacy and intrigue. Now, 50 years later, the wait is over. Carly Simon has finally spoken. In a rare, intimate interview, she revealed the truth behind the lyrics that have inspired endless debate and speculation. The revelation isn't just about identity, it's about heartbreak, personal growth, and the art of storytelling. It's about a moment in time that Carly immortalized with lyrics so sharp they still sting. 50 years later, for fans, it's a moment of closure, a resolution to a puzzle that has lingered across decades. But for Carly, it's more than that. It's a reminder of the power of honesty in art and how music, when it comes from a place of true emotion, can resonate far beyond its original moment. You're So Vain wasn't just a song, it was a statement, a confession, a challenge, and now, a revealed truth. As the world reacts to her confirmation, one thing is clear: the mystery may be solved, but the legend of You're So Vain and the timeless genius of Carly Simon will live on. The laughter, the sighs, the arguments, the guesses, And the debates over 50 years have led to this singular moment, and the song has never felt more alive than it does right now. For decades, fans had constructed elaborate theories about the subject of You're So Vain. Musicians, actors, producers, anyone in Carly Simon's orbit during the early 1970s could become a suspect overnight. Each interview, each passing remark, each subtle smile Carly gave to the press was endlessly analyzed. Gossip columns speculated, magazines published long lists of possible names, and radio stations invited listeners to vote on who they thought was the target. But Carly Simon was meticulous. She never confirmed more than the cryptic hints she chose to share. The mystery wasn't just publicity, it was personal. Now, half a century later, that mystery had finally ended. Carly sat in a quiet studio, reflecting on a story she had carried privately for 50 years. The person behind You're So Vain had been a significant part of her life, someone whose charm, charisma, and undeniable ego left an indelible mark. Yet, the relationship wasn't merely about fame or talent. It was intimate, personal, and transformative. That intensity, those sharp contradictions, is what gave birth to the song's unforgettable lyrics. Carly's voice, calm yet charged with emotion, revealed the first hint. The song wasn't directed at a single individual alone. People often assume it's about one person, she said, her eyes reflecting the decades she had held this secret. But it was more complicated than that. It captured a type, a pattern, a particular moment in my life where charm and vanity collided with honesty and heartbreak. She described how, in the early 1970s, she had been navigating both a blossoming music career and a series of romantic entanglements. The relationships were intense, passionate, and sometimes hurtful, leaving scars that would eventually shape her artistry. You're So Vain was her way of processing that confusion, those emotions that could not be spoken aloud without the art of music. Each line was crafted with precision, witty, cutting, memorable, yet always wrapped in melody so infectious it disguised the depth of her feelings. Finally, Carly shared the revelation fans had waited for. One person, more than any other, had inspired the song. The confession wasn't delivered casually. She paused, letting the moment linger, understanding the weight of what she was about to reveal. He knew who he was, Carly said softly. And now, after 50 years, it doesn't matter if he ever admits it because the song has outlived the mystery. The confession rippled through social media immediately. Fans erupted online, some in disbelief, others in laughter, and countless music historians scrambled to revise every article, blog post, and documentary ever written about the song. Comment sections filled with nostalgia, admiration, and surprise. The discussion was no longer about guessing, it was about appreciating the song as an enduring piece of art and understanding the real-life emotions behind it. For Carly, revealing the truth was both liberating and bittersweet. The years of secrecy had allowed You're So Vain to grow into a cultural phenomenon, but now, the mystery had a face, a story, a real human connection. She smiled, acknowledging the decades of curiosity that had surrounded her. The song will always belong to the listeners, she said, but it also belongs to a very real moment in my life. That's the truth behind it. Nothing more, nothing less. And so, after 50 years, the enigma was no longer speculation. The song that defined an era, that sparked endless debate, that shaped Carly Simon's career, finally had its secret unveiled. Fans old and new could now listen to You're So Vain not just as a catchy classic, but as a story of love, ego, heartbreak, and the brilliance of transforming personal experience into timeless music. The revelation wasn't just about closure, it was about celebrating the enduring power of a song that, 50 years later, still captivated hearts and minds around the world. News of Carly Simon's revelation spread like wildfire. Within hours, social media was alight with reactions from fans, journalists, musicians, and pop culture commentators. For 50 years, the question had fueled debates, late-night jokes, and endless speculation. Now, at last, the answer was out. Hashtags trended across Twitter and Instagram. Articles, think pieces, and podcasts analyzed every aspect of the confession, replaying old interviews and revisiting decades-old gossip columns. The world had been waiting, and Carly had delivered. Fans expressed shock, relief, amusement, and admiration. Some admitted they had spent half a lifetime convinced the song was about someone entirely different. Others praised Carly for her honesty, her ability to maintain the mystery for decades, and her genius in transforming a personal experience into a universal anthem. Across generations, people recognized the brilliance of her songwriting, not just the clever wordplay, but the raw emotional insight that allowed listeners to feel the sting of vanity, heartbreak, and betrayal without ever knowing the details. Television and radio shows scrambled to feature segments about the revelation. Late-night hosts revisited the original release of You're So Vain, highlighting its chart-topping success, its cultural impact, and the guessing game that had gripped fans for half a century. Music critics dissected the lyrics, pointing out how each line contained precise observations, wit, and irony, all while maintaining an irresistible pop melody. It was more than a confession. It was a reminder of why the song endured as a classic. Carly herself watched the reaction unfold with quiet satisfaction. She had carried this secret for decades, and now, finally, it was shared on her terms. It's not just about naming someone, she explained in a follow-up interview. It's about acknowledging a moment, a feeling, and the lessons it taught me. Music is the most honest form of storytelling, and You're So Vain tells a truth that many people recognize in themselves. Even if they never lived it exactly the way I did, the cultural conversation didn't stop with fans. Musicians who had been inspired by Carly's work weighed in, praising her ability to turn personal pain into art. Journalists explored the history of the song, its influence on female empowerment in music, and its role in shaping the pop-rock landscape of the 1970s. The revelation also sparked nostalgia. People revisited the album, rediscovered the melodies, and reflected on the enduring relevance of a song written decades earlier. Still resonating with listeners of all ages, some speculated about the identity of the subject, comparing Carly's hints from past interviews with the current confirmation, debating what had been deliberately concealed and why. But Carly's point was clear: the song transcended the individual it referenced. It was about perception, relationships, and the timeless dance between ego and intimacy. While fans would forever discuss, analyze, and even joke about the revelation, the song itself remained untouchable, a work of art that outlived its mystery. By the end of the day, You're So Vain had reclaimed headlines across news outlets worldwide. The story wasn't just about who the song was about, it was about the power of music, the patience of a legend, and the thrill of finally uncovering a long-guarded truth. Carly Simon had closed a 50-year chapter of speculation, but she had also reminded the world why her voice, her lyrics, and her storytelling were timeless. As night fell, fans everywhere listened again to the song that had captivated generations, now enriched by the knowledge of the real-life story behind it. Laughter, surprise, and reflection mingled with the melodies. For Carly, it was a quiet victory, 50 years of holding a secret. And now, finally, the world could understand, celebrate, and continue to cherish You're So Vain for what it had always been: a song full of wit, insight, and unforgettable emotion. After the initial shockwaves of her revelation, Carly Simon took a step back to reflect on the journey that You're So Vain had taken over the past 50 years. For her, the song had always been more than a playful accusation. It was a snapshot of a moment in her life, a distilled piece of experience and emotion that she had transformed into art. Now that the mystery was publicly resolved, she began to consider what the revelation truly meant, not just for fans, but for herself. Carly recalled writing the song in the early 1970s, a time of intense personal and professional growth. She had been navigating the challenges of newfound fame while trying to stay true to her voice. As an artist, the relationships she drew from were complicated, full of passion, ego, and heartbreak. In You're So Vain, she had captured the essence of those experiences with wit and precision, never intending for the subject to be universally recognized. The mystery itself had grown into an unintended part of the song's life. Every note, every lyric, it all came from honesty, she explained in a reflective interview. I wrote it to process my feelings, to make sense of what I was experiencing at the time. And the fact that it sparked so much curiosity, well, that was never something I could have predicted. Carly smiled as she spoke. Her voice tinged with both amusement and nostalgia. The secret became part of the magic, part of the story. She also considered the impact on her fans. For decades, people had connected to the song not just because of its melody or catchy chorus, but because of its universal theme, the tension between charm and vanity, between love and disillusionment. By finally revealing the truth, Carly wasn't just naming a person, she was validating the countless emotional journeys listeners had taken alongside her lyrics. "It's funny," she said, "people often felt they knew the song personally, as if it had happened to them too. And in a way, it did. That's the beauty of music, beyond personal reflection." Carly also thought about the song's enduring influence in the music world. "You're So Vain" had inspired countless artists, particularly women, to write boldly and honestly. Its clever wordplay, biting insight, and melodic perfection set a standard that many tried to emulate, yet few matched. For Carly, knowing that the song had touched lives, encouraged expression, and influenced generations was deeply satisfying. "I never imagined it would resonate for 50 years, she admitted. "It's humbling, and I'm grateful every day for that connection with people." Even as the public buzzed with excitement and speculation, Carly remained focused on the lessons the song had taught her. Patience, creativity, and resilience had all played a role in her journey, both personally and professionally. She had waited decades to reveal the truth, not out of spite or secrecy, but out of respect for the moment, for the narrative, and for the song itself. And now, that story could finally be shared fully, with the world understanding both the emotion and the artistry behind it. In the quiet moments following the revelation, Carly listened to the song again, her voice humming along with the familiar chorus. 50 years of questions, debates, and guesses now seemed like a natural part of the song's evolution, a testament to its timelessness. She smiled, knowing that the mystery, while resolved, had elevated the song into something far greater than a simple story about a person. It had become a cultural touchstone, a lesson in emotion, and a celebration of music's power to endure. As the day drew to a close, Carly reflected on the journey she had shared with fans for half a century. "You're So Vain" would continue to inspire, entertain, and provoke thought. But now it carried an additional layer, a real story, a revealed truth, and the satisfaction of a secret finally told. For Carly Simon, it was the perfect blend of past and present, personal and universal, myth and reality. The song remained as captivating as ever, now enriched by the story behind it, and its legacy would continue, timeless and unforgettable.